Hey guys, it's Rashidi again, and I'm here to talk about some mage items, especially for early game mage. So that's level 225. Well, no, early tier 10 mage, not early game. Early game, that's just so much. I'm gonna talk about the tier 10 stuff now, but if persons are interested in tier 9 stuff, I do that too, but beyond that I can't promise to do any type of videos. So for Heretic, it's just magic weapons really, because you're magic locked, so you're gonna be looking for any type of magic weapons, and you're gonna be comparing the magic stat and then the other types of bonuses they might have, but mainly the magic stats. And you will pretty much be choosing the item with the highest magic stat unless you're doing something specific. So as you're leveling up, you'll realize that you get a lot of different things, but it depends on the type of content that you're doing. So what I always recommend for early game heretics is doing normal tier 10 dungeons, because that gives you the opportunity to get not only the heretics robe but the kaladanda. Okay, yeah, this thing. And this is really good because it's really accessible and it's really strong. So this is only at level 10, but this is at 195%, and it already has 1330 magic. Plus it has 500 mana. And this goes really nicely with the Heretics robe, especially for the earlier games, because the earlier levels in tier 10, because you aren't going to have enough mana. Say you're trying to clear a dungeon and that will have 22 floors. You won't have enough mana to buff up and clear the entire dungeon if you're using your Heretics robe without any other type of mana boosting gear. And when you're carrying, you will be using 2 of these, so that's 1000 mana, unless the 65% thing subtracts mana, which I think it actually does. So let's say it would be 650 mana, which that would still be really good, and you'd still get the use of all the adornment slots, because they have 10 adornment slots. So that's really good. So this is my number one recommendation for early heretics, just doing tier 10 boss dungeons and Valley of the Gods. The Arisen Feral Archistaff is event locked, and that event is the Kerberos event, and that was in February. And this event this year was so good that they even came with adornments that gave action rates. So if you missed Curb, you would have missed the adorns too. So, but if you missed out on a good staff, these adornments can make any staff a Curb staff. So that's something to look out for. Double check if you had done any beast dens in February. Even if you didn't know about it, you might have a few in your inventory, so definitely check. So they're called the Dark Eyes of Kerberos and the Blackened Eyes of Kerberos. And it's not eyes, it's eye. But yeah, so a feral staff isn't really necessary, to be honest, with these. But if you don't have these adornments and you can get some Arisen Kerberos trades going, that should be really good if you get one. Even a legendary is fine, because really you need it for the pet action rate more than anything else. Because if you'll notice, this one is 191% but only 1430 magic. And if we remember correctly, the Kaladanda was 1330 at level 10, meaning it can still be Master Forged, it can still be Demon Forged, and then it can still be God Forged. So that's 3 boosts, as well as this has in adornments, and all of these adornments give some type of magic bonus. So that's how weak this is. But it is really good for the 7% follower action rate. Another decent one that I really liked in early tier 10 was Dynasty. And this was mainly because I've been carrying for a while, and this gives bleeding, which cuts the critical chance of enemies if they are bled or if they are bleeding. So back when I just started carrying, I tried to use this a lot to balance the criticals that I'd take. But I was using deity carry back then, so I was a bit tankier, but it was still really good. So I think this is a really good item for early game Heretic. And it's really strong. It's actually stronger than most people think, because it's at Demon Forge now and has 1400 magic. So it's at the very least almost or on par with the Feral, the Arisen Feral. So Arisen Horror is another one that I really love, but it's more for the chill type of carry, or like if you're doing events that you're trying to get items from. So examples would be Chaos Portals, Underworld Portals, where persons farm summoning scrolls for world raid bosses, and you also have just any dungeon that you want an additional chance at getting stuff in. So even the tier 10 dungeons, tier 10 boss dungeons, it's pretty decent there, because you don't always get the drops, especially from the fallen gods. So this 57% luck bonus comes in really clutch, especially if you don't have any other luck bonus, because this is an all year round weapon too. And this comes from the Chutulu. I'm not going to try to pronounce these names, guys, so don't expect me to. So did I mention? Yeah, I've mentioned where they all come from, except this one. Where does Dynasty come from again? Dynasty comes from that orange thing. I actually bought him today as a pet. The pet that the Heretic always has. That oh my god, I can't remember what it's called, but I have him. Anubis. Wow. Yeah, so Anubis drops Bidens, if I'm remembering correctly. Please do tell me if I'm not, because that'd be embarrassing, but I'm not against being corrected. Another good one, and this one is accessible in tier 9, is the questing staff, and the bonuses are right there for you to see. At Godforge, you get 53% XP, 65% gold, and 57% orns. So this is excellent. Like, this is for the grindier persons who are trying to do a lot of stuff like endless, or if you get carried a lot, you can run this because it gives good ward too. It doesn't leave you hanging. So you can run this with a shield and your other questing gear, and you're pretty beefy. The Staff of the Chimera. This item is so essential, so underrated. People think of Face Chimeras as the trash of trash world raid bosses. But I'm telling you, if you are going to carry, especially at earlier levels properly, you need this item. This item, a matter of fact, I won't even sell it anymore. I'll just tell you what it does. So it says it gives damage up, and that damage up is a 50% damage increase. 50%. It's a really shit and very weak staff, as you can see, Because this one is 186% and it's only 1200 magic. So it is garbage in that sense. But this multiplier, guys, trust me, do not underestimate this. When this multiplier procs, with everything else going on, you're going to start doing some damage. So be sure to look out for those Face Chimera trades. This is the best one I have of this, but there is another one called the Arisen Fae Mecha Pillar, but that one gives negative HP and mana, but that one is stronger than this one. This one though is the one I like because of it not taking my HP and mana, because I like to use Heretic's Robe for stuff that I use this stuff for. But I'm not really trying to... I don't have a need at the moment to get any extra damage because I can carry everything fine with my best build. But if I ever feel weaker or if there is ever new content, then I would definitely look into getting the Fae version of this, or perhaps Godforging this. But for now, I don't really use it ever. I just have it to have it, because I don't like Godforging stuff that are under 195%. Especially something that costs not only Greater Souls, but Cursed Ortonite. I'm not trying to give away all of my Cursed Ortonite at the minute, because sometimes I get Ascension Lock there, and I actually don't have enough at the moment to even Master Forge it, I think. I wouldn't even talk about this weapon because I don't think it's relevant, nor is it easy to get. But it's interesting. It's just that you don't get a staff bonus for it, so you don't get that additional damage bonus, nor do you get to use it with sequencer specialization. So I think that's pretty much it for weapons. I guess now I think I mentioned the best places to use these things, but I'll gloss over it once more for sure. So the feral staves, you need at least one with the staff of the Chimera to do a proper carry build. This is end game carry build in a way, because the boots are event locked, but everyone has access to the Heretic's Robe. Everyone has access to Balder boots, which are pretty good and have cursed immunity as well as HP and a ton of ward. So the Ash Plum boots aren't really necessary. I'm just one of those persons who likes to do as much damage as possible, and it gives a temporary magic up buff. So the one arrow, that one. Heretic's Robe, as you know, it's just really strong. Mine is only a legendary. As you can see, the magic is nothing to what would I say now, be proud about, but I'm still looking. I've been using this Heretic's Robe since I was level 233. So you know it works. So it's not like you need to have 200% everything. I used to use a 149% feral staff. It's in my keep right now. This is my original feral staff. This is what I used to carry with. This. I didn't even have a Chimera staff until really late down either. I used to carry with this and my horror. Yes, the horror. So you can mix and match these items is what I'm trying to say. And you will have to determine if the carry is something acceptable to you or if you still need to grind more gear. So the Lugos gauntlets, as you would know, give the temp, magic, or attack up, and that is the 3 arrows up, which means 100% damage increase. So these are essential. Each gives a 3% per target chance of proccing. So the more targets per floor, the more likely for them to proc. The Tarnished King's Crown is for the foresight, because you want to be the first person in the party to do anything, to do any action, so that you can clear the wave in one go. So it's really good because it has really good foresight, it has a bit of ward, and it has a ton of adornment slots. And I use mainly Azure Pinions as my adornments, but you can use Moondust, which was another Kerberos event. Wow, Kerberos event was so good this year. Was another Kerberos event adornment from the Beast Den. And I think it was actually a tier 5 adornment. It's a tier 5 adornment. So it was like accessible to everyone, and it's really, really good. It's really, really good. So this is what I would use to carry, as I said. But as I said, you can mix and match things. The most important thing would be the Staff of the Chimera, if you have the Blackened Eyes or the Dark Eyes. But you have to pair it with the Feral Staff if you don't have the Black Eyes, because the action rate is essential too. So you need at least the 7 additional % that the Feral Staff will give you by default. But if you can get in 4 or 5 eyes, then you don't really need the Feral Staff per se. But I would still use it because you want to get a bit of, how would I put it? You just want a bit of action rate, honestly. Like, it's just better to have more than less. Because if you realize, I don't use other adornments. I use the Blackened Eyes in all of the things that I need action rate for. And my questing staffs I use for endless. So obviously I'm going to pretty much stack them with adornments that help me to keep the Defic channel up. So for endless, as a low level heretic, I think it's still possible, though you won't be going very far. Orngear endless is very, very possible, just because you can go far by being smart. And if you get really lucky and get some really good gear, like say I had plague green, what's it called, shoes? What, I should have one in my keep. The magic boots that are really defensive too. So say I have Banshee boots, magic user. Yeah. So say I were to use boots like these instead of my Balder boots, I think I'd have better results because I tank a lot more. But I use a standard body, and my boots don't have much defense on them anyway. So I'm really, really squishy. But with better boots, I think earlier levels you could reach at least like floor 100. And if you do that consistently, it adds up over time. Might have to move from here because there's so much background noise. But yeah. So why I have a Flaming Lost Helm is because I use Earth Alignment. So I need that resistance, and the Yeti or Prism Wall resistance doesn't work versus Earth Alignment. So you need an item with the actual resistance on it, because I'm even fire faction and that doesn't work either. But with this gear, well, I won't say what I can do with it because that would be pointless since this is an early game thing. But I think if you have your 2 band of gods, you have like exact gear, except maybe not 200%, so you would have maybe 25% ward. That's not much less, because this whole build is so little ward that I have like 22k ward. So you're going to be trying just to one-shot things or to immobilize them, then kill them. So that's pretty much the plan here. So you're not going to be worried about ward. As for what other content do people do? Raids. I just use this for raids, but I put in the Heretic quote. And actually I changed a few things. I put in Baldur's Hood, and I changed out the boots too. So I more do something like this for raiding just to have a balance, and depending on the raid, I won't use stuff like Snotra, because that's just going to give up 90% of your physical defense, and then stuff like Face Chimera is just going to eat your little ass up. So it's just better. Arisen Mori, oh my god, it should go without saying. It should literally go without saying. Do not use it unless, yeah, just don't use it. Just don't use Snotra. Don't use Snotra and Endless either. I don't think I mentioned it, but do not, please, for your own sake, don't. But a lot of the gear is pretty farmable, I'd say, other than the staves, because Battlegrounds, you can get in on okay, so for persons who don't have access to dungeons, there's this really cool Discord called Orna Legends that does dungeon sharing. So you can always find spots with dungeons there. So if you need to farm your gear, you're going to need to be proactive about it and go out and find the resources to help you do that. But otherwise from that, my girlfriend will have a Heretic build in a few days. Not a Heretic build, she'll have the class in a few days, and then I'll be trying some early Heretic builds. So this is just a video to explain what are some nice items to look out for. And then I'm going to do some experimenting myself on her account, or I guess I'll just watch her do it, because she doesn't like when I tell her what to do. But yes, that's another story, guys. But yes, so I'm going to check it out on her account. I have a friend that I taught about 2 weeks ago now. It was 229, so that's pretty much the same level as my girlfriend. So it should be similar results. And then that should validate this video as something to watch if you need Heretic's gear. So maybe I think it's a pretty decent video for what it is, because I think I spoke about a few Heretic gear, but I'm gonna rewatch it, or you guys can tell me if I missed anything. You can tell me in the comments, and then I'll do an updated version. But everything I recommended here is a good and safe bet. You don't have to worry about getting the best stuff immediately. It is going to be a grind. Don't feel discouraged. Just keep on grinding, and one day you'll have some nice items for the wrong class, and then you'll switch to that class, then you'll have some nice items. Anyway, guys,